What happened to commuter plane crash in Alaska that killed 10 people? This photo provided by the U.S. Coast Guard on Friday, February 7, 2025, shows a small commuter plane that crashed in western Alaska on a flight that was bound for the hub community of Nome. U.S. Coast Guard. This photo provided by the U.S. Coast Guard on Friday, February 7, 2025, shows a small commuter plane that crashed in western Alaska on a flight that was bound for the hub community of Nome. U.S. Coast Guard. Juneau. Alaska authorities are working to recover the wreckage of a plane crash in western Alaska that killed 10 people while investigators are trying to determine what caused the small commuter aircraft to go down in the icy Bering Sea. The single-engine turboprop plane was traveling from Unalakleet to the hub community of Nome when it disappeared Thursday afternoon. The Bering airplane was found the next day after an extensive search. 9 passengers and the pilot were killed. Crews on Saturday were racing to recover the wreckage and the remains of those killed in the crash before expected high winds and snow. The plane was reported missing near Nome. Related stories. Crews rushed to recover commuter plane found crashed on Alaska sea ice. Crews rushed to recover commuter plane found crashed on Alaska sea ice. Crews search for missing Alaska plane with 10 on board. Crews search for missing Alaska plane with 10 on board. Officials said contact with a Cessna Caravan was lost less than an hour after it left Unalakleet on Thursday. Authorities said the flight was a regularly scheduled commuter trip, and the aircraft went missing about 30 miles southeast of Nome. Rescuers searching by helicopter found the wreckage Friday. Local, state, and federal agencies scoured large stretches of icy waters and miles of frozen tundra before finding the plane. A Black Hawk helicopter will be used to move the aircraft once the bodies are removed, officials said. Unalakleet is a community of about 690 people about 150 miles, about 240 southeast of Nome, and 395 miles northwest of Anchorage. The village is on the Iditarod Trail, a route of the world's most famous sled dog race. Nome is just south of the Arctic Circle and is the ending point of the 1,000-mile, 1,610-kilometer Iditarod. The cause of the crash is under investigation. The National Transportation Safety Board is sending people from various states to investigate the crash. Radar data provided by the U.S. Civil Air Patrol indicated the plane rapidly lost elevation and speed, but it is not clear why that happened, according to the U.S. Coast Guard. Coast Guard Lieutenant Commander Benjamin McIntyre Coble said he was unaware of any distress signals from the aircraft. If a plane is exposed to seawater, an emergency locating transmitter sends a signal to a satellite, which then relays that message to the Coast Guard. No such messages were received by the Coast Guard. Flying is an important mode of transportation in the largest U.S. state. Alaska's vast landscape and limited infrastructure make traveling by plane a common thing. Most communities are not connected to the developed road system that serves the state's most populous region. Some high school teams fly to sporting events against rival high schools, and goods are brought to many communities by barge or by air. Who was on the plane? Authorities said all 10 people on board the plane were adults. Among those killed were Roan Baumgartner and Cameron Hartbigson. They had traveled to Unalakleet to service a heat recovery system vital to the community's water plant, according to the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium. The identities of the others killed in the crash have not been released. At this time, our thoughts are with the families and loved ones of those affected by this tragedy, the flight operator Bering Air wrote in a statement on its website. We recognize the profound loss this has caused, and we want to extend our sincerest condolences to everyone impacted. The flight company said it had set up telephone hotlines staffed with specialists to provide emotional support and updates to people who had loved ones on the flight.